Opposed?
No,
No, okay, what do you do?
Huh? Work. Supporting and some work. And you like what you saw, and you're interested in now helping out, and volunteering and serving in that commission. Is that correct?
I never substantially provided any expertise to my colleagues.
That you assisted your colleague in some things, the commission assessments, is that correct?
No, just talk to them about the position and what we got.
And then meetings,
No, ma'am.
but that you're interested in serving.
Correct.
Any further questions? Are you okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Robert Mehta. How are you? You have to get closer to the speak on the mic.
Sometimes it's good, but I don't want to hear anything.
Get the mic, go press the button. State your name and address for the record.
Robert, 40 Stockton Hill Road, Unit 54, New Haven.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Robert Magna, 40 Stockton Hill Road, Unit 54, New Haven, 06513.
I will give you a little bit of Robert Magna if I can, and I'll just share. Robert Magna was a state rep in 90.
I forgot to ask you all them in here.
Yeah, and he represented me and Sal and their teams as well. So I've known Robert a long time, but I've not known him in the capacity of assessment review. So I will allow him the opportunity to speak on the behalf of what he knows about that.
I spent 16 years in the legislature. Almost all the years I was on the Insurance and Real Estate Committee, chaired the Insurance and Real Estate Committee.
Can you hear back there? Okay, turn this around.
Oh, is that better?
Is that better?
We're close. I thought you retired. I spent 16 years in the legislature, and well, I think most of those 16 years I was on the Insurance and Real Estate Committee, and I chaired it for 6 years. I did a lot of work, even within the city of New Haven on a state level with overlay zones and written condominium law. All the different agencies, the real estate brokers, real estate appraisers, and their laws. And I've been a real estate investor for 20-something years. I don't want to shoot on it, I don't intend on it. So I'm just really, really familiar with almost every aspect of it. Last summer, thinking about something else to do from public service. Kind of come down. So I applied for it. You know, I wanted to talk before I came here tonight. There's a University of Chicago study out there. I don't think you're familiar with it. But what it does is it took 26 million homes around the country, including New Haven. New Haven, they took about 300 or 400 homes to sample. And they divided the tax on the sample base, and they found that in poor areas, people paid a higher effective tax rate. Fairhaven paid a higher effective tax rate than Easton. And I think up around Big Skull Bay. This was up in, the samples were up until like 2017. But I was thinking before I come in here tonight, one of the things they blame it on is this process. In part, this process, that I'm about to possibly embark on. But it was very interesting how sensitive. But I thought about probably the mission of this board should be to have a uniform effective tax rate across the city in terms of just single family homes. Is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So, interesting.
I'm glad you said that, because you wrote so many laws when you were a state player. You can help out the tax assessor write some new ones.
What's that? Help them out.
Help them write new laws for a tax assessment appeal.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, they say that the general way an assessor assesses property in mass, not looking at it in detail, is one of the issues of why you have the fluctuation. They also say that normal welfare people that engage attorneys, and argue and fight, they skew that effective tax rate around the city. And that's what this process is about. But yeah, I don't know.
Interesting, that article.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Any of my colleagues have any questions? Father, just a lot.
Yes, sir. How are you? So, not really understanding your level of expertise around this. I understand you've been in real estate, I understand your written some law. I don't think you probably have a copy or some reference to that we can look at right now.
I mean, I think it's
So again, very concerned around this issue of the tax assessment. Home ownership. You mentioned, you brought up the issue around lower communities, which behavior often been said has no really middle class. It's, you know, kind of folks struggling and folks just getting ahead really well. So I am very interested to know how you are going to, on this board risk expertise around it, how are you going to help an area like Newhaltville that used to be 85% African American homeowner, which is now 85% rental, with roughly only 10% African American homeownership struggling in this market where you can barely buy a home. How are you looking to really bring some level of expertise around addressing this issue?
I think in terms of the mission of this committee, just to get uniformity and fairness in the process of assessments. You look at who comes at you, who's complaining that they feel that folks are under assessed, but actually it's one of the other issues. People come to me that are over assessed, not under assessed. There's a lot of difficulties around that I have in terms of making homeowners and changing. That's not, I don't think it's the mission of feels like the fairness, the uniformity, effective tax. From very, complaints come out about the tax. When you the study that I was for that neighborhood, and up to 1.9 effective tax rate as opposed to areas of very 2%. Really, really.
So I'm not sure if you understood exactly the question. The question, what I'm really getting to is, I recognize that it's not going to be your job to handle the reforming of the tax assessment. I understand that you're focusing on appeal to this board, but to appeal the issue around tax because something went wrong or something was unfair or they misunderstood something or something was not made clear to them. So I want to understand that the people that sit on this board understand the history of these areas of the city initially from time. And I want to get more specific to other areas, the impoverished areas, the areas that are struggling, the areas that may not get the rescue that's needed. And I want to make sure that you going into this board have clarity around how that process unfolds, so that when someone does come to you from New Baltimore, or car assessment, or two-family, whatever the case is, in your mind, you can understand, oh, wow, I used to be 85% African-American homeowner when Oldham was there, when Winchester was there. So this is not an issue of something different. This is a historical, generational issue that's happening in that community, and that you are thinking, you know, for your qualifications you are presenting about the paperwork that we have in front of us, it doesn't have that there. Somebody like you, we would look to have some type of creative genius come onto that board, thinking outside the box. That's what we need. We need outside the box thinking. Yeah. We're in some new time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's those neighborhoods that need the most help. I was actually thinking about it. That's a good point. You know, maybe the board, I don't know, can or the council board, all of them, do some sampling. Like University of Chicago, and see what kind of real effective tax rates going on.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Just a comment. So, Mr. Megna, you're ready and prepared if you're appointed to attend the meetings and work?
Yeah, I'm kind of retired, so I mean, I don't know how demanding it is. I can't make any major commitments.
You're here, so you must be willing to give some kind of commitment.
Well, it's taxes and so.
Yeah.
I know, call me a little crazy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But I do
I'd also like to acknowledge that our majority leader, Richard Aldermanic, has also joined us this evening. Eugene Harris is here. Come on up. Good evening. Please give me an address for the record, please.
Eugene Harris, 164 Mealing Road, New Haven, Connecticut, 065.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Yeah, it's supposed to be the Port Authority is an important commission regarding our ports, and we need to ensure that the members who are appointed to this commission understand the complexities of the port and its authority within that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you why you feel that this appointment is a good fit.
Going back to my involvement with the city of New Haven, really, for 15 years. Okay, all right, that's like what is it? I was employed by the city for 15 years. 74 years. But when I left, I went into business, and during the course of time in business, I also participated. I was on the original Town Green Special Services Commission, which I sat for 8 years, and then also spent another 8 years on the airport authority. So I'm very much in tune with the economic development issues surrounding the port, the new money coming in from the federal government with regard to the dredging, and what that's going to bring to us. And I think the Port can act as a real city to help with previous issues you talked about as far as assessments and things like that. More things that we can bring into the city to advance the economic base that we have is going to be the best. I feel I'm very qualified to sit in that position.
Thank you. Any further, any other questions? Yes, Alderman Hamilton.
Good evening, sir. Sounds like you're prepared and you're up on top of things. Are you prepared for the meetings when they do happen, if
Yes.
appointed?
Yes.
Ready to
Yes,
go? All right, thank you, sir.
Have you attended any?
But the meetings, no, I've had discussions with people that have been on the committee, talking about different things that are going on. I mean, living through this whole process about 2 years ago, the federal government paid to have beaches restored in Morris Cove, and how that impacted decisions made by the Port Authority Commission.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Alder, Jones, and then Alder Abdul-Jabbar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Harris, give me an idea of something different or new that you would bring to that Port Authority board for some ideas of which you may want to see improved or changed there.
I think it's hard for me to answer that question now, I'm not spending time on that board. But I think one of the things you have to do is go back to say, what are the bylaws that stand by? What are the issues that we're dealing with, and examine those closely before we can actually make a determination of adding something to that. I think we really have to create a foundation, the knowledge base that the board deals with every day, that the city deals with the port, federal funding, and I think it'd be much easier to make concrete decisions once I have a little input from that.
Great, thank you. That's all I got, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Alder Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes, sir, Mr. Harris. Thanks for being here. Question. Your thoughts around port safety, as you have seen it there, extensive background.
But one of the things, years ago, I attended the anti-terrorism seminar. And one of the things that they pointed out in dealing with the state of Connecticut was that if you look at I-95, branch all the way up to the line. One of the key areas that we're dealing with here in the Haven is the two bridge. And also, more importantly, the jet fuel line going from here to the heart. They regard to focusing on those as a terrorism target. Security around those areas is highly important, not only to the city of Haven, but the state also the federal government. With those who damage today, they would have a severe economic impact on the city in general, especially here in the city.
And also, too, I don't know if you're aware of the tankers that come in from all around the world that dock or over here on Alabama Street. Are you familiar with our current safety measures addressing that?
Again, not familiar with what's going on now, but I understand too, we have a lot of international visitors coming in on the ships. And dealing with border security is a major issue that's always been dealt with down there. And I think like anything else, we have to go back and say, what do the regulations say to be in place, make sure they're being enforced, and if there's a detriment, then it goes to improve what's going forward.
That's all. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Pastor Kelsey D.L. Steele.
Good evening. Good evening, Kelsey G.L. Steele,
I think you pressed the button. Have you pressed the button?
That's,
No, it's not working.
Press it again.
There you
that's,
go.
okay. Kelsey P.L. Steele, 235 Bellevue Road, Haven, Connecticut. Distinguished of the committee, as well as my all. Thank you for
Thank you. Mr. Steele, Mr. Steele, did you prefer?
well, tonight I'm not coming as pastor.
Okay.
I'm coming as-
Well, it is your title.
Yes, but yes, yes.
You always get that.
Drop the faith.
Yes.
Mr. Steele, Board of Fire Commissioners is a very important committee. And I know I say a lot of that, every committee is important, but there are some which is extremely important and, there's a lot of things that come before the fire commissioners, like the police commission, where hirings and firings and reprimands and things of that sort, and education, training. So what is your background that you feel that would be a benefit to the fire commission?
My background is strategic leadership and organizational management, and I'm presently at Regent University working on my doctorate. And I am an administrator, and I'm one that believes that everything rises and falls on leadership. And as I was researching the position, although I have not put out any physical fires, I have put out structural and organizational fires. And I also was researching, seeing that the fire commission is to consult with the fire chief concerning matters that's pertaining to his duties, and also to make all rules and regulations relating to the administrative department. And I feel that my qualifications would be beneficial in that area because every leader needs accountability. And I believe in accountability and also believe in integrity. And I have followed every organization that have a footprint in our community, from the police department, from the fire department. And the concerns that I bring tonight is that we would get more people of color in the ranks of the fire department, and not only people of color, but New Haven residents. And I think that that's very important. So that's one of my convictions that I bring to the table tonight.
Thank you. Well, I have, I always voted for residency, but I have got overruled many times. Yeah, the state didn't want to do that. Any further questions from the committee?
I don't have any questions. Pastor Steele sounds like he's prepared and have been working in the community already.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Alder Andrews and Alder Abdul-Jabbar. I'm
Sorry, Pastor.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Getting old by the minute.
I'm behind you.
One of the things I want to, well, you know that the fire commission has the meetings at 9 a.m. Would you be able to make those, won't interfere with your duties?
Oh, no, it definitely will not interfere with my duties, and I will definitely make it a priority because coming to the table, I just want to serve wherever my community sees fit. And so I would definitely put everything that I have in that, make it a priority.
Give me an idea of, I'm sure you've been around the city a long time, and you've seen the pros and cons, whether it's police, fire, education, or any of the like. Give me your idea of, as a fire commissioner, what kind of things can you offer, jumping right on, first meeting, what kind of things can you look at doing to help the fire department move ahead?
I think, like a lot of other organizations, the fire department needs to work on reconnecting to the community. Establishing fire prevention programs for the children, and just being that presence, that trusted presence. And so I would definitely look for ways in order to enhance and strengthen the community and fire department connections.
Okay, sounds good. It makes a lot of sense. I think at this point, I'll you.
Alder Abdul-Jabbar. And then Alder Rodriguez.
Yes, good evening, Pastor Steele.
Good evening.
So a few questions. What do you see your role as a future fire commissioner? Do you see your role is to serve the concerns of the public? Or your role to be able to, I guess you'd say, maybe follow the orders of government? Where do you see your role is, will be as a commissioner?
I think my role would be to be that party that's able to come to the table and reason, listen to both sides, but at the same time, be astute of the regulations and the policies that I must uphold. And so I feel that it's a twofold. I do have a responsibility to the community, but I also have a responsibility to the government.
So the reason I ask you that is because many pastors have sat in that seat prior to you. They have been hot seats for Dr. Kimber, and hot seats for Reverend Cousin. And you've mentioned ambitiously that you go to address things like residency, bringing in more Black and brown, because I understand that people want more African Americans and Latino firefighters, and that is going to put you in a hot seat. It's going to take you right out of the olive branch. And I said that olive branch on fire. So my question to you, I've come to know you, I've watched you, I've studied you, I've been tech. And so my question to you, are you ready to step into this fire? I mean, because the city is hot right now. That's the issue. I'm just, you up front. Are you ready for this?
Yes, but let me first say that those names that you call are not part of my crew. So let me distinguish
They were in
myself
that
with
seat.
that. Yeah, they were in that
That's
seat.
all.
But I'm definitely willing to step in the hot seat, because that's a part of leadership. And my main priority is what's best for the city of New Haven, what's best for the fire department. And so I'm definitely prepared for it. Please let the record state that those individuals are not part of my crew.
Evelyn, Alder Rodriguez.
Yes, Pastor Steve.
How are you?
There's so many committees. Why this one? I know you have vast experience in so many ways. That's the first question. Why this one? Because they're all, significant. And the other question that I have is that if, in the event a group of individuals were to approach you, like let's say firemen, and share with you, how would you then ensure that their voices are heard? And it's not that commission. Thank you.
I would definitely take the voices of the people and the concerns of the people with me as I meet with that committee. Not minimizing anybody's voice, but making sure that their concerns are heard within that committee. And there's so many other committees that I could set on. I've previously served on the board of parole and partners appointed by Governor Ned Lamont. And this actually was a commission that actually sought me out. And so, I will serve my city in any capacity that I can. I mean, I'm definitely willing to do that. And so whether it's fire, whether it's police, I try to be the citizen that keep myself well abreast on everything that's going on. And so I'm happy to be considered for this position.
Any further questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next person is Susan Enriquez. Thank you. When you're talking.
Okay.
Make it easy.
Okay.
And don't press the button, just hold it to your
Okay. Yeah, but I can't hear. I have a prosthesis in this ear,
mouth.
so I was really struggling to listen to this.
State your name and address for the record.
My name is Susan Henriquez Whitted, and my address is 278 Halleck Avenue, number 2, New Haven, Connecticut, 06519.
You're being appointed to the Peace Commission. What makes you want to join this commission? Is it something that you feel brings you because you want to be a part of a commission that deals with peace in a community?
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a peace commission until I met Millie, who's also on the commission. And, you know, I'm a transport. I'm originally from New York, but I've been living here for 6 years now, and I've grown to love this little town. It has so much to give, and I've learned a lot from this community. And I feel like we have a lot of issues. You know, we have a lot of issues. One of the big things for me is gun violence. You know, the lack of resources. So locally, I feel like peace starts at home. You know, so locally, I feel like there's so much that we need to do, especially with our youth, which is one of my main, my passion is working with youth. So I actually have a podcast that's geared towards young people in the community who've experienced trauma. I'm a mental health counselor. So I'm interested in this. And now that what's going on in Ukraine, it's even more, I feel like we need to talk more about that. You know, if we've learned anything from COVID, what happens in other countries definitely affects us. So wanting to educate some youth about war and nuclear weapons is not talked about as much as when I was growing up. That was, you know, in Russia before the wall and all that. And I just think it's an important part of our life, of what peace is everything. I mean, I'm not sure it could ever happen, but it's definitely something that I would like to work towards.
Thank you for that, because that's important to our community as well. Any questions from the committee? Yes, Alder Hamilton and Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair Santana. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
So, what do you know about the Peace Commission? And can you talk a little bit about what you know about the Peace Commission? Do you know when they meet, what they do, what they're about?
Yeah, I've actually been to 3 meetings already. And so I know that they're right now focusing on Cuba, getting sanctions on Cuba, which I think strategically for America is a good idea right now, considering that, you know, what's happening in Russia, what's happening in Europe. So yeah, I'm very familiar on what they're about. I'm actually having an interview with Back to the Brinks, which is, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's an organization that has a lot of young people in it, African-American young kids and brown young kids, and I want to add more to that. So I'll be talking to them too. So I'm learning a lot, and Al Matter's kind of pretty amazing that he's still doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually going to be interviewing him soon too.
Yeah, he has a wealth of knowledge and unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean the whole commission. I love that there's, you know, they get up at 7 o'clock at night. I'm ready to get in my bed. They're in here doing this thing, and they inspire me. Like if they can do it, Susan, there's no reason that you can't do this. Such important work. So yeah.
Oh, excellent.
You're welcome.
Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair. This is what I was wanting to hear, that through our events, the Peace Commission, this is a group of individuals who are about peace. So there's a lot of things in New Haven, and you know it. And you'll find them here, or you'll find them in the other side of the city, lobbying for something related to bringing peace. I mean, even on topics that you won't think, why am I here? But because that topic can cause a lot of lack of peace, they go in and they do what they have to do to bring about peace based on the issues. So it's good to hear that you would go to a 7 o'clock, or to an 11 o'clock rally in the Dream, you know, and that there's a great group of people here, and you coming in and the mental health aspect. How would you engage the youth with the Peace Commission? You're going, so you see what I mean in terms of the older community that's focused, but what about you? How would you engage them to participate in the commission, in their activities?
Well, you know, I have a very loyal following of young people and smart young people and young people that really care about the community. And that's really, I want to kind of bring back the old school ways, like how, you know, when you lived in a neighborhood, everybody knew who everybody was. Everybody took care of everybody's kid, you know, like I know if Maria was looking out her window and see me doing something, you know, she was going to come down and, you know, and I would love to see, I think that's peace too, right? Like bringing community back to New Haven, and I think that would be one of the ways that I would do it. I would definitely use my podcast. I already have like a couple of kids in mind to ask them to be part of the commission that I think would be reliable and really care. You know, my podcast does not have a big following, but I have a loyal following. And people really respect what I have to say because they know that young people know that you know, when I first started it, I was afraid I wouldn't have guests, you know, and my relationship with young people has grown through my daughter. They see how my relationship is with her. Like they've run away to my house and now they're young adults. So when I asked them if they would be on my show, it was, of course, they were like, of course. And so I believe I have a voice that they respect. They respect me because I respect them. You know, and I ask them to bring their authentic selves and I bring my authentic self and I try to live my life in integrity. And that's how I believe that we could reach the young people by being real, listening to them and validating them. You know, I was just at the rally for Jericho. Scott. So those are the things that I'm involved in. I care about young people. I care about gun violence. Although I don't think, I would like to think, I think I can bring creative ideas, not to downplay what any other people are doing, but I'm not always sure that a march is really giving the right message. And what I mean by that is, yeah, march is great, you know, chicken dinners are great, you know, but is that really what is going to get to the root of why these children are shooting each other? What is the real issue? And that's where I believe I would bring to that because of my mental health. I know that it's trauma, generational trauma, all those kinds of things. And I really think, although world peace is obviously important, but I really think too that it starts at home too. So I'm interested in local peace right now.
Thank you.
Yes, Brother.
I have always thought about the National Peace Prize Award. Have you heard of that?
I have, but I have heard of it,
And
yes.
wouldn't it be great if at some point in time, we could actually have someone from home? It would be awesome, praised that way. They would.
Other tension.
had a couple of questions. And a touchdown already. Good to go. You had talked about peace issues in other countries. First you mentioned it being small.
In comparison to New York.
We don't compare it.
Uh-oh. I used to live on 161st Street and could hear the Yankees. Could hear them from my grandma's house. Say charge.
Anyway, can you give me a little more idea of the focus of your podcast, what it's all about, and what type of guests you have on?
Well, my podcast is a trauma-informed podcast for young adults 18 to 30. And we talk about everything because trauma is everything. We talk about, like I just had someone from the LGBTQ community who came in and talked about what that's like for a young person, how to help parents deal with the situation when one of their kids is coming out. I've had stress management classes. I have sexual classes. I was trauma and sex. So it's anything that has to do with trauma. And I chose this age group because some of the conversations are for adults. And I'm aware of that. And I didn't want to offend any parents or anything like that. So we talk about real subjects, anything that they want to talk about. It can be music. I've talked about music. I've had a rapper on my show who does this a lot on his show, in his videos. So we talk about why. What's that about? You know, like, why do you do that? And one of the things that I noticed that I am proud to say, I try to make my podcast an experience. You come here, I cook dinner for them because I know that a lot of these young people are not getting home cooked meals. Like I've had people come and say, I haven't had a home cooked meal and I don't even know when. I'm always eating McDonald's, you know? So it's more about creating this safe space that you can come and talk about anything you want. And I don't filter it. I let them come and do what they want and they feel like they're accepted, that they're loved. You know, they come all the time. So like I said, never have a problem with guests. We might talk about relationships. We might talk about family relationships, like how do you deal with your mom and dad? There's so many different things. I have Imani coming on my show next month about mental health and what they do with the churches in Yale. So I've had, what's his name? Oh my God, Mr. Stein from Guns Against Violence, CT Guns Against Violence, Jeremy, sorry. He's been on my show. He's actually come to my house, had dinner with us and been on my show. So there is no topic, like there's no one topic. The whole focus of the show is to heal. How do we heal? And then hopefully my idea is that I give this to a young person and they give it to the next young person. You know, I've had young people say, you've changed my life, you know, and I've only been doing this a year. I haven't been doing it a long time, but I'm also going back to school to get I have a master's in crisis and trauma counseling, but I'm going back to school right now to get my license as a professional counselor because I want to open a community center. I feel like we need a community center. We don't need another liquor store. We don't need another CVS. We don't need another right or parking lot. Yeah. Our young kids have nowhere to go. And then we wonder why they're running the streets breaking in cars. Well, they've been in a pandemic and there's nothing for them to do. And living in, we don't know what they're living going on. I know me, I'm a survivor of trauma. I'm a survivor of the South Bronx. And, you know, I don't know what I would have done in my living situation with parents that were getting high had I not had school, you know? So I'm not surprised that these kids are doing the things they do. My focus is young people. We need to get young people involved in the community, that they can see that there's a way out. There's a way out. You don't have to do drugs. You don't have to get a gun. You don't have to be in a gang. You know, so that's my long-term goal. And I think being in the Peace Commission will help me to network with more people so that I can get more kids involved in what's going on in the city, the real stuff.
My other question
I told you about that.
Let me ask you this, this will be my last question. You said that the groups you focused in on 18 to 30 years old, but my experience has shown that if we don't have some sort of control over kids by the time they're 9, that we lose control of them. Have you thought of getting into any groups of kids that are younger than 18? 18 is kind of like they've made up their decisions on what they're going to do, and we need them more so in the form.
Well, I think that I focus on that group because that's the group that nobody focuses on. There's a lot of things for that age group. But once you turn 18, you're basically on your own. You have to figure out what to do with your life. And I don't know about you, but I remember when I was 18, graduating high school, I was scared.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, I can no longer depend on my mom. Like, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Now, imagine that on top of a traumatic childhood. I focus, and the other piece, I've been working in mental health field for a long time. I used to work for Columbus House as a case manager. I've seen so many young kids come in there, 18 years old, get kicked out, and there's nowhere for them to go. And if somebody would have gave up on me at 18, I probably would have never graduated college. I would have never. That for me was the time when I was going through so much in my home life, and I had nobody to talk to. So I think that is the exact age where we can say to them, I've seen working at Columbus House, the adults, they already ruined. You know, I mean, it's like a vicious circle of trying to get them into services, I want to get them before that happens. I want to get them while they still have hope. You know, when you're 18, you think you can do anything. You know, I want to get them where I can be their cheerleader and like, yeah, you can. If I did it, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your information was very interesting for me to hear because we don't get a lot of that. And for me to listen that you want to do this and help youth to be part of this and to understand youth. I'm a proponent of youth. And I believe that is the age group that no one cares about, that there's so many homeless young people at that age as well. So if we can figure out ways to help them to get involved in different things, to offer them a safe space, they can talk about those issues. I think that's an important piece that in having peace in our city. So thank you.
And nobody's doing it. Like I said, that's the age group, the forgotten age group, I feel.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You can go now.
Yes,
Because he left. But that would be a good sign, because he sounded like kind of tough. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. Joshua Van Hosen? Hope we're not scaring any people off the stage, man.
Almost, not quite. Good evening, esteemed alders.
Take your name and address for the record.
My name is Joshua Van Hoesen. I live on 10 West Prospect Street, New Haven, Connecticut, 06515.
And you're being appointed to City Plan Commission.
I am a very important commission for the
It
city.
is, it's, I think, one of the most important because it deals with a lot of housing issues. And it also deals with how doing different legislative ways to ensure that each area has a certain BD or LD or whatever land disposition, there's all different types of wording, but it is key. And what I want to know is, it's an important position. What do you know about city plan? Because it takes a while to get up to par. It's just not listening to the testimony of people coming in, but it's understanding legislation and how the legislation works with regards to how city plan proposes the whole citywide agenda for a 5-year plan.
Yes, it is a very comprehensive in regards to what you need to know to be up to speed in regards to it. So as soon as I learned that I was going to be up for the position, so it's actually a position I became interested in under the previous administration, and I had sat through some meetings back then. When I found out I was going to be submitted once more under this administration, I did start re-preparing. So I've been catching up to speed in regards to how all of the meetings operate. So I've been reviewing the digital records, which, as a note, you can't find them on YouTube like you can these ones. You actually have to go through Zoom to access them. I've been reviewing those. I've been reviewing the Muni Code, so the system that you can review all of the municipal articles. So I could quote you Section 7, subsection 3L in regards to the Community Commission, but you guys can see that as reference. I mean, I understand it. It's a lot of details. It does take catching up. I've talked somewhat with Adam Marchand in regards to the position. I've been talking to Jonathan Wharton when he was sitting on it previously. I do have experience in regards to how the city operates. I've run for Alder a couple of times, for those of you who recognize me in that regard. So coming up to speed and how things operate, it's something I'm very familiar with as well. I'm a director of engineering, so I have to do a lot of those crunch research and getting into the very nitty gritty in regards to, okay, you know, what are we responsible for? You know, how do all these things impact? And when we think about the city, especially this commission committee, the city is a system and all these parts work together. And we have to be very mindful about how all of these parts work together as we work to accomplish the goals of the city. And as an example, during the previous committee meeting, and I forget the street, but it was building 145. They were talking about the garbage access to the side alleyway. And one thing that came into mind, and I'm gonna have to do some additional research in regards to this, is do they separate recyclables from actual garbage? Because I know single stream recycling is also a problem for the city because we can't export garbage like we used to other countries. And so it's, again, it's systems and how they all play together, something I'm incredibly interested in, and something that I have a lot of experience in through my job.
Well, I'm glad you said that because it is, like I said, it's key to understanding. And a lot of people who become members of the commission are, most of them, architects or have like a background in engineering. They can read specs, they understand the specs. If you show me a spec, I won't be able to read it to you because I won't understand it. I do know that there's a seal on it that has to be there. It's been approved, but how to read, you know, where a door is, no, I don't know those details. But it's important that the people that we choose to sit on this specific commission understands the commitment. They're long hours.
Yep, 4 hours is typically what I've seen in regards to the meeting, something I'm definitely used to in regards to my job. I've also done a lot of long meetings when it comes to the city, so I'm usually part of the budgeting process, sitting through those meetings. I usually do public testimony. I am actually chair of the community management team, so a lot of these developers actually have to come and present to us anyways before they come to city plan, or else they'll get community members there raising stink about things, or supporting it, as is the case in a lot of projects as well.
Any questions from the committee?
Not really, no questions. Just a comment. Sounds like you're prepared. You're ready.
Yes, I did a bit of studying for this.
Researching and studying and working up to this. Right, and you have it in your plan because you even know that it's a 4-hour meeting each time. So I don't think there's much more for me to ask you other than, you know, we're gonna work on your we'll talk about the appointments.
Thank you very
It
much.
sounds like you're ready.
And I do want to make one more note, and it's actually to you, good sir, and I apologize if I was terrible at pronouncing your name. Shafiq.
Yes, sir.
So I know you've spoken a lot about the history of New Haven and kind of where things go to, that individuals who sit on this commission should understand not only the history, but where we're going. So one of my favorite books, and I would suggest everyone check this out at your local library, is Urbanism, which was actually written about the urban growth and development of the city of New Haven in all the fabulous nitty-gritty details that may bore most people, but I find incredibly enthralling.
Thank you so much. I read a book about urbanism, actually, when they built the highway into nowhere. And
Yep.
that really destroyed neighborhoods. So that's key, I think, in understanding what the dimensions of our city are. So thank you. Aldermanic. I just knew it.
Really kind of-
Yeah, it's on it.
Documentation that here, we mentioned experience in development of information, implementation of ERP systems. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, so ERP systems are enterprise resource planning. So they're usually used by large corporations, medium corporations, and actually municipalities. And it's what governs the resources. So it's typically financial side of things. So AR, AP, it's where employees go to record finances, but typically there's other sides to it as well. So field services, project management. I know the city uses MuniPal, which is a company out of Stanford, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but that's an example of an ERP system. It's just the system that an organization uses to sort of keep track of and govern all their resources.
Recently, there's a lot of development. And much of it is what we push for, affordable housing. And we see a lot of agency developers come in because they feel that the New Haven area is prime.
Yes.
However, they always come with a plan that includes tax abatements and the release. And so you'll be on that development commission possibly. So give me an idea what your thoughts are on that. The developer comes to you with plans that, other than the drawing, include a tax refund.
So in general, one really has to analyze the viability of the project with and without that tax refunds. The feedback that companies have given to New Haven previously is they ask for them because they know they can get them. Mm-hmm. And I don't think New Haven needs to give away as much as we do. We are a fabulous city. Yay! We are one of the few deep water ports on the East Coast. We're going to be a growing market. Like, yes, we have not reached the height of our population that we have had historically, but we are a growing market. We've seen that by the amount of properties that are being purchased, especially by out-of-state landlords. I would really like greater focus on local landlords. I'm actually a local landlord myself. When you were talking about taxes earlier, I understand that. I unfortunately have to raise taxes on my tenant, which I really hate. It's the one thing that's written into the rental agreement that if taxes go up, I have to raise your rent. I lowered it twice during COVID, and it kills me that I have to do this, but it's the reality of the situation. And I mean, there's expenses. I only own the place so I can build equity. They really just pay for costs. And they're fabulous folks. It's single family home. Yeah.
One other question. Recently, just a matter of fact, this morning, I read an article in the newspaper. There's something that they cited I was unaware of, is that there's a state law requiring all cities and towns to have some sort of affordable and multi-family housing. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I'm familiar, but I'm not necessarily familiar with the extent. And I know there's been discussion in regards to increasing it around transit centers. Yeah, so changing required zoning. So if you're within a certain transit sector or distance from a transit sector, then you have to allow certain zoning for density, which is something in general I agree with. I'm a fan of transit-oriented development. It just makes sense from an efficiency standpoint. And the free market will help in regards to, like, you know, if an individual wants to live near a train station or a place without parking, you know, if you build it, they'll come. And I think a lot of the parking restrictions we've historically had don't necessarily make sense if we do transit in an intelligent manner. Though granted, some of that is derived by the state. We don't get to make all the decisions locally, like bus lines, that's determined at the state level, which I disagree with, but we can't change that. So I digress.
Very practical too, but you're right on track with me though, anyway. I feel the same way, that if they can't build it without the 30-year tax limit that they want, then we need to move to a more excellent time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alderman Rodriguez. In this city, not to mention other cities, but in this city, it so happens that in the last year, and especially in the last year, we're seeing purchases of individuals that are buying locations for their projects without knowing the integrity of how people work together. You know, we have management teams,
Yes.
we have the city administration. They make those transactions over there and they buy these purchases that are extraordinary, big money.
Yep.
Okay, and now they're coming to our commissions for consent. You see a developer or a purchaser buy an extraordinary building, like the one on Dixon Avenue and city planning. How would you handle it if you are literally able to see the whole scenario? If that is not the best place, but they've already invested.
So, and that one's always difficult because as a business owner, it's on them to do their work beforehand. If they didn't do the work and they come before the board and the board turns them down for valid reasons based on our guidelines, our charter, our municipal code, that's on them, and that's very unfortunate. I do think the city could most likely, and I don't have examples offhand, improve the communication with individuals who are purchasing within the city so that they understand that we are very much community development oriented, in which we like to have our input. And when we have developments within our community, we like to make sure they fit within, not necessarily traditional, I hate using the word traditional, the feel of the neighborhood. That's a little hazy word. Yeah, so I think it's big on working on communication in regards to what they could do after the fact. I think if we kept a pool of developers and could potentially facilitate communication between groups of, hey, I know you want to develop this, but it doesn't fit in what the community would like to see here. Maybe suggest another developer who could take over the property and develop it in a manner that the neighborhood is more comfortable with. I just see that as a potential solution offhand. The feasibility, I would obviously have to look into a little bit.
So would it be hard for you, knowing the money that's been put into this purchase, knowing that especially if they know how they could have communicated to the community wherein the project lies, that they're interested?
I mean,
would it be hard for you to say no?
No, I mean, at the end of that, I do it all the time for work. Yeah, I mean, I've had to deal with contracts of thousands upon thousands of dollars where they haven't followed through on the stipulations and requirements. And yeah, the project ends right then and there because you didn't, and it doesn't matter the phone calls and oh, we're going to lose this much money. That when you knew the requirements and you didn't follow through, that was the choice you made to lose out on that opportunity.
Alderman, did you have another question?
Yes. We talked about the multifamily and affordable housing in the city. One of the issues that has come up I've had conversations about is, for lack of a better word, grouping. So many times when they build a lot of this housing, like the one that's going up on Orchard and Dixon. Big housing, affordable housing, like the 80% of the apartments going to be affordable for people in low-income areas. But as you look around the city, you see many times the developers come into town and they group all the low incomes in the low-income neighborhoods. They're not building on Prospect Street, low-income or affordable housing. They're not building in Moore's Cove. So what are your thoughts about that, and how would you look to change that so that we're not just grouping all the low-income people into low-income neighborhoods?
Right, so part of that does fall down to zoning and building requirements. In regards to groupings, I'm a big fan both within buildings and within communities to have mixed, words escaping me at the moment. Yeah, mixed income in regards to financial brackets. So, when everyone's bumping elbows, we don't form these perspectives of how the different economic classes function and operate. And so if you build communities to treat everyone this, not treat, sorry, there's a lot of complex issues here in the back end of my mind, in the regards of development communities. But yeah, I don't think everything should be grouped together. It's not good for communities. It's not good for development. And that's the bottom line there. Studies have shown, and I can email you to, obviously I don't have the money.
Well, what kind of things do you think or you feel you could do or want to do on this commission to change that?
To be quite honest, I would have to do a little more research to determine what would actually be within my purview before I could give you a satisfactory answer.
No question.
City Plan Commission, I did have one after going through that law. Interacts a lot with the historic district. And right now we're having a lot of zoning issues because people are not aware that some communities are historic districts. And we're going to be having a meeting with City Plan and on the historic district to come up with a plan, because right now we're seeing they're putting solar panels and they're putting the
AC units.
well, not just the AC units, but they're putting the the antennas,
Oh, gotcha.
satellite dishes. So there's no conformity within city plan or historic district to conform to those issues. So in that aspect, the city would have to find over 1,800 people or homes, maybe more, triple that. There's 600 in my district alone that it would have to find in the historic district. So when you're dealing with those issues, how does the City Plan Commission hope to better communicate with the historic district so that we can all communicate better?
Well, I think a lot of that boils down to, and this is kind of going to my programming experience of like talking between our development teams and the sales teams, is they got to make sure that they're using the same kind of language between the ordinances and the guidelines that they utilize. Okay. So if they're not, that would be the simple one right off the bat, would help out in that regard, because everyone's going to want to be going from the same source of truth is what the term we utilize. I mean, that would be the big one, check-ins between the two commissions. So if they show someone as a liaison, just to make sure that they're on the same page in regards to how they're handling situations. So maybe if city commission went, well, we handled this situation, this is how we handled it, they could then describe that to city plan, or they could either go, okay, well, we'll know in these situations, this is how we're going to handle it so we conform with you, or they get together and then go, okay, well, we know you handled it this way, but we think as a group moving forward, this is how it would best be handled.
Well, the only obstacle that I find that's in the way is the historic district follows national historic district.
Right.
So, and that becomes a barrier for a lot of communities.
Okay, so it's a mixture of the kind of zoning requirements versus the historical district requirements.
Yes.
So in that regards, and I know the Ellery administration has talked about this extensively, is utilizing technology to a greater extent. We have accessibility to the GIS system, which is, and I forget what that stands for, so I apologize, but it lets you map out what different zones and things are. So we could see the overlay between different zones and historic districts to be able to communicate between the two groups, what are the shared requirements between those two.
Got that, Barbara?
I'm a big fan of standardization.
No,
It makes things.
sense. And to me, if there was a checklist, like, the problem is that people don't know, so they're not gonna go to the historic district and say, hey, I want to put
Oh, I understand.
solar panels.
Yeah, I
They
was.
don't know that it's not required, but yet city plan or somewhere, if they come before the commission, like, for BZA or city plan or whatever, they want to build something onto the property. They should be telling them,
Right, exactly.
you're in the historic district.
Yeah.
And these are the requirements.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to get at. There should be more communication, or and with BZA. Everybody should be communicating with each other.
Yeah, because all the commission, not all the commissions, but I mean, yes, all the commissions, they all work together as a system. Because the city is a system, they all play together one way or another and affect and impact. So especially for ones that handle such, not conflicting, was the word, intertwined
Yes.
issues. Yeah, vocab catches me sometimes. You're right, there should be better communication and standardization between them. So we can make this more efficient and effective.
Thank you. Yes, Alderman Regis.
Have you attended any of the meetings?
So I've not attended them at person, but I have listened through all the recordings afterwards in full.
And do you know the people, do you know anyone on the city planning?
Yep, so I have actually worked with Adam Marchand for a number of years at this point, because he comes to pretty much every single CMT meeting. I've also worked with him on some community volunteer work previously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Miss, Leslie Blackwood?
Yes, I've not, I've met with her. I don't think I've worked with her like directly on things, but we've bumped
on my
elbows.
board.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Great, awesome, thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Seeing that there's
All
no,
those getting appointments and they're
Yeah,
all take good attendance and they're not required to attend.
correct, except there's one BoA fisherman that we're gonna be skipping over this evening, number 15. Because we need confirmation that she was actually off of the commission for a year. We need the records from the chair to communicate that with us, that when she got off and when she eligible to go back on. Okay, and what I understand is that she was the chair, so. We just need confirmation.
Right, that she was off.
Yes.
He's gonna work on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Should be able to have it by the next meeting.
Isn't she in New York?
Yeah.
I thought
She's like,
so. Yes, that's what she was.
I'll help you if you need any verification. You need to get.
I need the dates because we need to know when the next 9 years to be on.
Yeah.
All right. We'll work together on that. I think that's online.
Okay, so is there anyone from the public that would like to testify this evening? Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify this evening? Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify this evening? Seeing none, I'd like to move to close the public portion.
So
Okay, all in favor? Well, there's no discussion because there's nobody in attendance. Except the workers. What is the wishes of the committee?
Madam Chair, I move item number 1.
Okay, Joshua James,
To the board of what?
assessment appeals.
I second the item.
Okay. It's first and seconded discussion.
Mr. Joshua James seems like he's willing to serve. Prepared and not prepared.
I mean, one of the things that assessments will have to deal with would be vehicles. We have a lot of issues with vehicles come. And I mentioned specifically classic cars or collector vehicles. And
Very knowledgeable in cars.
totally
more-
lost the concept to start talking about new cars.
Right, he's not versed with automobiles, that he's more into real estate.
But it's not something you can learn.
No.
But I just want to make that as a point that maybe we need to be sure to look at and ask when people are applying for that. When you deal with assessments, it's more than just houses.
Yeah.
True.
You have to have some sort of awareness of plastic work. I would agree too. It was not encouraging for me. It was just his personality that he presented and his demeanor. He was very cavalier. And it was almost like being here. He's going to do us a favor by sitting on this commission and try to help us out. This is civic duty, just like the work that we do. We don't get paid for the work we actually do. We do the work because we are committed to doing the work.
Correct.
And so when other people are sitting on these commissions, these are valuable branches of government that carry out additional work on behalf of government to the public. So, they have to be ready to be compassionate and energetic, and motivated. To come here and say, well, you guys have more experience than I do with this, you can go to Kelly Blue Book. When every board of Alders meeting, 90% of our UCs are for tax. Alder said it's for tax assessment. It's people that can't pay their taxes and often it's economic challenge and it's COVID. So I don't think that this is the type of person that we need to have on the commission. We really need, I would say, people who are fireballs, thinking outside the box, ready to come and be prepared. It seems like he's not good. That's my opinion.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All against, say nay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. What did you?
That was more approved.
I think
Well,
you guys,
right.
4 ayes and 1 nay. Okay, the motion carries.
I move Mr. Robert Maitland.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I think I've seen what he did. He was one of my constituents. I've seen some of the work he's done. He mentioned some of the legislation he's put through regarding properties, kind of things, and he mentioned the condo regulations. So I think he's a good fit. His background in the area is extensive, and I think it would be helpful. He still wants to work and share his time. Yeah, he's done many years in the state legislature, and he's still willing to put in time now with us. I would support that.
I support him.
He also, I remember specifically, I was very mad at him because he put, and when he was in the insurance commission, he put in shutters for people who live in and around water areas where hurricane waters would come in. And I had to get shutters in order for me to get insurance. And I'm like, so he is an out of the box type of person, so he will seek the best way to remedy situations so that people don't pay a higher price. And so I think that he does think out of the box, and just the story that he said about how this, this study was being done was very interesting to me. And the way he said it, that if we took properties ourselves, or they did it themselves, and tracked out maybe 30 properties across the city, they would actually see what the actual tax, effective tax would be. And then they can actually tell where lower income people are being taxed higher than people who live like in East Rock.
Yes.
That was a very good observation. Other disability.
So, maybe it's me, maybe it's the weather, you know, I was not convinced that this is something first that he wants to do. When he was asked, can you make the meetings, are you prepared to make the meeting? His attitude was like, well, this is after he went through the whole entire talking to him. And he was asked by the tune, are you committed to this? He says, well, you know, I kind of do the best that I can. I see what I can do. He did not fully sit here and commit that this is something that I wholeheartedly invested in and then I plan on doing. The other thing is, I got the impression that sitting here, like, hey, I'm all set. It's the government, I know you, this is okay. That's fine if you're going to be committed. If you're going to say you're going to make the meetings, if you're going to tell me you passed law, bring me some documentation, direct me to something that shows me what you're trying to do that's different. I asked him the question to try to see if you understand the inequities around how this assessment is going to play out in the city. He still could not clearly, with the level of background that he has in both elected office and all the other things that he has said here in protest, he still could not accurately explain it. So if this is a situation that we just have to fill the space because we're running out of people and there's nobody available and this is it, you know, that's fine. But I think, you know, all of you here are seasoned, veteran, committed alders. If I had to come before you as a freshman alder and ask to sit on a board and chair that board or be a vice chair, and you ask me, can I make the meeting? And I'll say, I'll see what I can do. And you ask me, would I be committed to it? And you say, I'll give you a shot. I would not believe that you would give me the nod on that. And this is for our citizens. This is for 100,000 potential residents that are going to be asking for some type of relief at some time, maybe not all at the same time. This is going to impact people's lives. So I'm a mayor of this one.
If I may suggest, if I may introduce, as we review the letter that he submitted, his cover letter, I think that his cover letter does answer his commitment to the committee, indicating that he's going to function in a committee environment. And he's had, being in the assembly, you have to, and he's had 16 years in the assembly, you know what your responsibility is to go to those meetings and to engage and to give your input. And he did share with us a number of important ideas that he has as he engages with the other commission people. So I think that the letter is helpful. I hear what my colleague is saying, but I think the letter has surfaced an interest toward that doubt.
Yeah, he didn't, and I agree with you to that extent. Yeah, he didn't present well, but I know him as a person, and I know him as a dedicated representative, and I know that he will be committed to this. And if he's not, then the next time he comes up for reappointment, he doesn't get selected. So that's the way we get people off that and not doing their job. So
I have to agree, because maybe my shortfall is he was a constituent of mine, so I've worked with him, I've talked with him before. That's why I'm like,
yeah,
the way
that's
he
the way.
presents, he to do it. That's the difference.
And I think in fairness, I think he felt kind of like relaxed
Yeah.
around
Yeah,
Jake.
and with, Chris Antenna, because he's familiar with folks and, you know what I mean? I think it was, yeah, like, there evidence of a more relaxed type of environment for him as compared to, okay, this is a, you know, a strict,
Commission.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he's
for-
familiar with folks, so he was
Yeah.
more, a little
Let
more
down.
relaxed than would be in a more formalized setting, you know what I mean?
You know what they say, first impressions always count.
So here's what
It's
I'll say,
about
as a new
sex.
person.
Mhm.
When we're in chambers, which we are now, we refer to each other as alders.
Yes.
This is business.
This is true.
This
Yes,
is
indeed, yes,
business.
indeed, yes,
When
indeed.
people come before me, before all of you,
Mhm.
they need to come to do business, because we're doing business.
This is true.
We can do the other stuff when we leave the room. When they come here, that's how they have to present themselves, because we have to answer questions. when we leave the room. That's my point.
Okay.
I get it.
You know,
Point well
listen,
taken.
I am willing to forego on behalf of you all, who say you know them, because hey, listen, that means something to me. But just in the future, when they come before us, they need to be professional and do business, because that's what we're expecting. to do. And I expect nothing less from these people that are gonna be representing us,
That we're
right? They're on behalf of us representing
Absolutely.
other
getting
people.
charged to.
And they should not feel comfortable. They should feel like they have work to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So that's
I
fine.
agree with
So I'm with you on this.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, against? Okay, all in favor, yes. It passes. Eugene Harris to the Port Authority.
Second,
Okay, it has been moved in seconded discussion.
I thought Mr. Harris now was very prepared. He was right on point. He's familiar, he's worked with, and yeah, I think he'd be a good fit for the organization.
I do too, as well. I thought he was very knowledgeable and he was very knowledgeable about the fact that when Alder asked him about the boats coming in with
Security and all
yeah,
that, yeah.
security and stuff, he was very knowledgeable about that, and which was very impressive to me. And for the
Yeah, no, I
discussion,
think his resume is really extensive. I think
Yeah.
he has the type of resume that is needed for port security. We have this, we don't have this.
Right.
So, we need more, you know, we need more knowledge around this. I think that's good. I have no objections to it.
And he knows the different departments,
Mhm.
police departments, fire department.
Yeah. Knowledgeable and experienced and
I think it would be an asset to
Yeah.
the Port Authority. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, against, none? Okay, the motion carries.
Before we move to
Yeah.
the next one, I have a question for staff, unless somebody else here knows. Don't we have an Aldermanic representative on the Port Authority?
Right
Yeah.
now.
Yes, I
Alder
believe we
Ortiz.
just.
Pardon?
Right now, it is Alder Ortiz.
Jody Ortiz,
Yes.
Yeah,
but she's no longer an alder.
Exactly.
So we need a new appointment, automatic.
I think we
The
did appoint
president
somebody.
is aware.
I think we appointed somebody.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
No, we
That's being
did.
worked on.
Oh,
But President Walker has decided to leave it as is for now.
Yeah, my understanding is, I believe, former Alder Ortiz is still serving.
Yes. Any further questions?
Questions on that position?
I'm not putting that in the minutes.
no,
She is actually still attending meetings.
Yes,
So that's not an issue that you still have her there. But since she's in that gray area where she doesn't technically as the altar, but she's still serving to cover
Yeah.
her legal butts.
I
am
get
requesting
it.
the paperwork to put her through. So
Bring
you
it.
may see her through
public portion is closed, so I mean, you want to bring it to the attention of
No, this is
the
just the
president?
internal note.
You're welcome.
I know Pastor Steele.
Second,
Okay, second, moving seconded discussion.
Pastor Steele is a stand-up gentleman. He's prepared to work. I think he made some good arguments about what he sees as the need to bridge the fire department and our communities together in a good working environment. And I think he'd be an asset to the fire commission.
I agree. I mean, he answered your questions well, he was sincere. I mean, I've seen him work around the city before, and seems to be one that's willing to dedicate his time and efforts.
Yeah, I think, same thing. I watched him. I've seen him involved in some of the police, and I've seen him involved in fire, so I think he's in for trial by fire. To be honest with you, and, I think he can handle it, but he's in for a trial by fire. Every commissioner that's normally going there, African American male, himself being dark skinned, that doesn't make a difference. And it does. He's going to be in for a new beginning, with this. But I think he has the support of the administration, all of our support.
Yes.
And he can move it forward.
I do have a question, and this is off the record, since we are in discussion. That it was brought to my attention from a colleague that we shouldn't even entertain Pastor Kelsey Steele because for ethical reasons, he didn't pay taxes. And I'm like, what? And I said, well, did you talk to the owner of the area who this refers to? And she said, no. And I said, so why are we bringing this up? It has nothing to do with his qualifications of being a fire commission. Well, she said, it talks about ethics. And I don't know what that was referring to. She didn't elaborate because I kept saying to her that it's an appointment for the fire commission. I could understand if it was tax assessor or something like that, but it's nothing to do with finances. So I don't know what the issue would be. I just wanted to bring it up because it was brought to my attention, but I didn't feel it was a question that our board should be asking the individual because he's serving as a fire commission, not as a, and when I did speak to President Walker Myers, she did bring to my attention that when he was going to a position at the state, something about his taxes that he paid them. So I'm like, if he paid them and he was hired, so what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Why do people
Is
dredge
that
up?
his personal
Yeah.
taxes?
Yeah.
That has no bearing on this here, though.
Well, that's what I said, but I just wanted to let you know. what-
Try it by fire.
Yeah.
That's it. Once you step in the role.
Yeah,
you know.
people are gonna dig up or try to drudge up.
But I just wanted to let you know that it may become an issue if it was brought up, so I just wanted to discuss it. No, it's not in his qualification, so I mean, I didn't see it, and I thought
The charter doesn't talk.
Yeah.
it's.
I think as long as the packet doesn't have anything specific that it points out that it include him to be
No, it doesn't.
eligible for the position,
No.
then that's what we're
Yeah,
approving it
that's
based on the past.
That's what I said, and I said, you should have brought it to the attention of the, also of the board that the person is in. And so whatever, I just wanted to make it known.
No bearing on that.
That's all. That was
I
all
didn't
for-
get anyone.
for-
All right, so
Okay, so we're, all in favor of voting for Pastor G.L. Steele? Say aye.
Aye.
Against? No? Okay, the motion carries. And do you know what G.L. means? Come on.
It might say forget love once you get on that board.
No.
I was going to ask them, but I didn't.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds nice. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, right? Sounds pretty cool. All right.
Good luck.
Susan Hernandez.
Enrique.
Yeah.
Alderman to move.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, I've been moved and seconded, discussion.
I was really impressed. She seemed really on fire. I mean, there's not much more I could say. She was right there. Dedication just seemed to ooze out of her.
She seems very engaged.
Yeah.
And, empathetic to what is happening, with our youth and wanting to give them a voice. That I was very impressed with, in her conversation and, her podcast, she mentioned, giving folks the opportunity and a voice to be able to air and speak. I think that's a good thing. I think she'd be a plus for the Peace Commission. So I'm in favor of her.
I was mesmerized. I'm sorry. I just like all of the goodness I was feeling. I could feel it. And so that made me feel good. And yeah.
Once it starts feeling up.
Yeah, I did.
I think she
felt
would
it.
be a good compliment for them.
Yes, indeed.
Because you have a lot of people that have been here for years. and
Right.
They can
A lot
utilize
of
that,
older,
that's strength.
yeah,
Yeah,
dormant
absolutely.
people,
Yeah.
That'll
she
give
can
them
bring
hope.
a little vitality into the group.
Yeah, they're gonna like her. Hopefully, if she stays the course.
All in favor of voting her in, say aye.
Aye.
Against, no. And, there aren't any no's and the motion carries.
Joshua Van Hosen. Joshua Van Hosen.
Second.
The moving seconded discussion.
You seem on target.
Yeah, he's another
I
person.
think he's gonna be good for this.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
He's like set a goal for himself.
He's eager, he's interested, he's already reached out to Alder Marchand. That's
Been
on,
to a meeting or?
yeah, has already, started working on,
No, he hasn't attended any.
no, but he's,
Watch
Watch
it.
it.
Yeah, listen to the videos.
Mhm.
And he knows him, I march on.
Yeah, he said he's worked with Alder Marchand and he's listened to quite a few of the meetings, on,
He's not in favor of this 30-year tax.
Yeah,
That's enough for me.
Right. I think he'd be a very good fit, and like I said, he's knowledgeable and he's ready and prepared to do the work.
Yeah, I agree. I think he had a lot of good ideas. I think that, his knowledge, is different than any knowledge base that come before us before in the past. So, I'm very enthusiastic. Any further discussion?
I think you took my word. I was very enthusiastic to the chair of the management team. Being a landlord, he was passionate, and he was right, he was spot on. Go back again. The other two should have been like that.
Yeah, I
Because this guy's gonna work
Yes, indeed, yes.
on behalf of the city and the residents.
Mhm, mhm.
And he's connecting the dots, he doesn't have to reach.
Right.
He's using him as the mark.
Well, you set a high bar.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And good job.
Yeah,
All around this one.
I'm 100%. I mean, they're out there.
Yeah, yeah.
He's one of them.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move items 7 through 14 and 16 to head.
Second discussion.
Those are all great points.
All these reappointments.
Good attendance,
And
and there's been good comments from some of the chairs.
Yes.
And directors of the departments.
I think
Two are in my ward, Ronald Walker. Always engaged with the community. Really good out. A lifesaver. And the Peace Commission, in fact, she has gotten together with other clinicians, and we have a volunteer trauma program that they do. So at the substation, she's meeting with people privately for free.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Once a week to give them free trauma therapy. So even though she does the Peace Commission, they're doing it. It's wow, it's so exciting to see.
I know, it's easy for too. I think that was
They're
good.
just doing their own thing. That's what we really do. When I say out of the box, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Just heal our people,
Yeah.
save our city.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. I do my best to.
All in favor of the reappointment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then 15, we'll be skipping it.
Yes.
Right, well, I'll work with you, Misty, on the verification, getting Ms. Fishman to I'll reach out and give you all the necessary information to be able to make sure that
Okay.
all that's
If,
verified.
if there's no further discussion,
Close the meeting.
I second.
okay, let's move to seconded. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, and have a good evening. That's, I think, one of the longest meetings we ever had.
I'm sorry.
No, we're all good. There were a lot of people that were
Joelle answered me, she said that she did take a year, but she didn't give me the year. She had to check the commission records. So she was flipping through records, and that's why she just didn't answer me with the actual year itself yet.
Who, Ms. Joelle?
Yes, Miss Joelle.
Okay.
So she did tell me, yes, I did take my year off. She's like, I gotta go back and check the records to see what year. it was. So she's in process with that. So we're very close with her. She's been very, very on top of her stuff.
She's very popular.
She's amazing. So nice work.
Very
For the
good.
packet, thank you.
Video.
Very nice work, both of you.
Yeah.
I have my trainer
I'm
here.
so
Between her and
happy.
Mr. Lucas, I learned what
Very
every night.
nice compliment.
Yeah, good work.
This is what we need.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, well, the other two that came, it's like, don't come like sitting here like this is a daycare, excited.
Nice job, Ms. Ambrose, you did it. Yes, you did.
I'll help my facade and not Milton. Mr. Van.
Keep them over there.
Testified,
Keep them
I'm
over
like, he
there.
is your poster child for the.
Oh, I saw it. I saw it.
And you know, with Mr. James, I know that he's under the impression that when he comes, if he were to get voted in, they will teach him everything, because he's Mr. Real Estate guy. And he knows that he needs to learn about the codes. And he's aware of that. He
That's
just,
good.
he was very nervous outside the kitchen. I didn't know if it's my place as, but being that I'm not the public, I'm an employee, I don't know if I qualify.
No, public portion. You could
I
probably-
can't, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
If you would have shed lights on that.
Because Jack Sean had come up in the past and
I
said
didn't know that.
something.
He's been running around, he's kicked the sick, so that's why I get to Esther Armand. Okay. Okay, so he's aware that he needs to learn about the code. I know. So now I know for next time.
Also, thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you all. My community cleanup was a success.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
We
I know,
got a
I
lot
had
of confidence.
an older that asked me why I wasn't there. I said, sir,
No, why
there's a
wouldn't
bunch
you?
of them.
What?
There's 10 of them. How do I split my time?
Right.
Rebecca said that you just didn't want to be out there with the people.
Right? I don't like the people. That's what it is.
No.
No, I had to go help the president pick up a cat, and a cat sitting for someone she knows.
That's not valid.
Just a coordination effort, I'm grateful for all you've done, because it worked for me.
As long as the people have a clean environment to live in, that's what's important.
In a couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
we want another one. So I'm hoping that you could help me and that we could organize it a little bit better because, you know, get flyers out to just that specific area and so forth.
Right.
because then we can try and get them in English and in Spanish too. Because, I know, I mentioned money in the budget for beautification. So let's see if I can try and, get more of these going. I know that they mentioned that the kickoff press conference that the mayor did from the Trinity Church at 1 o'clock on Friday. There was a mention that, it's gonna be a summer of cleaning and taking care of the community. So let's see if we have folks that want to do more, but I know that all the Rodriguez had to postpone that. So, let me go grab my stuff and come to you. Exactly. And the community looks better for us. Let me get Becky on that one because she'll have to get me somebody from Parks to talk to get us some guidelines to work with. Okay. Okay. Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, where the statue is, right? Right. That's a lot, though. That's a lot to get done. I like that he helps. I didn't know that they were gonna be willing and able to, I didn't know I could speak at the public portion, that's why I was just like, that's why there's a bus head.
And tonight it was funny. I'm so much pain to sit up, which I normally wouldn't do, but
That's okay.
I see her left.
Let me go grab my stuff and I'll deal out with you.
Although you can hear the public hearing, but everything they need to do should be taken care of. We sort of just actually what I told you it would be easy. And I'm like,
That's like if I asked you. Would you know about that or would you say nothing?
One of the technical ones, and Joshua was he's your poster child. I was looking at his resume too. He did one specifically for the committee, 1 page, and you heard about all these engineering, which some of these CPs at 10 pages.
Yeah, trust me, I saw some of the ones coming with the library. It was like, really?
It's great. Congratulations.
I know.
You're a really smart person. I'm so happy. They don't care about that. They want you to be smart. They want you to know.
They
That
just
all
want
you
to be
don't have to do
experts.
autos and. That's great. Don't worry about it.
Well, that house, is James, I have questions about that. Like a thing like that. I mean, they want to know. Okay, but he's still not a man. That's not bad, isn't it? Oh, okay. Well, then I won't worry.
Yeah, the minutes go out, but almost nobody looks at them.
Okay, let me grab my crap.
Yeah.
I'll go meet you in there.
Yeah, don't cut yourself some slack. You did great.
Well,
15 out of 16 is amazing, and the
last one.
one was even a no, which was just, we'll come back to it next time.
Right, and by then we'll have, the second police commissioner.
All right, perfect. Yeah, but great job.
Thank you. You did a great job tutoring me. This is your work. I'm back to present for you.
Yeah, and when you have time, reach out to me and we'll regroup, because because I have a bunch of my folders, like the order to, I don't need it, so if I was you, now, I'm not you, so it's up to you, but if I was you, I would just do it if I just saw it. And not make it harder on myself, and straighten out. But we can discuss that. could be their leadership meeting one day. Signature matters.